Towson, Baltimore, and WNST.net. I get together with this guy, usually talking a little bit of soccer, a little bit of mortgage, but always summer fun here if you're kicking a soccer ball out there. Carl Delmont joins us here, of course, the owner of the Harrisburg Heat, as well as our partner for a long, long time here with Fremont Mortgage and all things that we do for the Bone Marrow Registry and our live events and all that good stuff. You know, the soccer summer thing is happening here, but I know for your league and involving the Blast and indoor soccer, this is a pretty big week for that for you, and I know you're working 3 years into this thing as owning the Harrisburg Heat, and I know Ed moved the team out to Towson right around the same time. Where's the league right now, Carl? I mean, tell me a little soccer fun here in the summertime.
Yeah, so the league meetings are this week. Got Kevin Healy going for us, and I know Ed told me he's going for the Blast. So basically just sort of a owners league meeting going over everything that's going on. I know the commissioner said that there's a lot of interest in other cities and ownership groups coming in. What I'm being told is that they'll probably come in next year. The advice is don't come in now because it's kind of late to get started. We had the Canadian team, took like 2 years to get set up to come in. So we'll see how, I think some of that stuff happened with them. They got started 2 years ahead of time, but they didn't announce their logo till like a month before the season, so I'm not sure what's going on there. But just had another team in Texas, and from what I'm told, I think there's like probably 6 to 10 other ownership groups. We'll know more this week that want to come in, so that could be good. I know the MASL2 is starting to grow. They're adding more teams there, which could be like a farm system for us. So I think overall it's pretty exciting. I mean, the league itself, we just finished free agency end of May. Florida went a little bit crazy, pretty much signing everybody. One of our players, Ricky Ricardo, great player, great guy. He's expecting his first baby, and his in-laws are retiring and moving to Florida. So we kind of knew that, that's where he'd end up. So we're happy for him. He'll have built-in daycare, and he gets to coach and play year-round outdoor and indoor because they have an outdoor team down there for him. So, things happen, works out. Pat's got a plan. We're working on it, and, I trust in Pat. Let's put it that way.
Well, it's funny, Carl. When I talk to all the other leagues, the NBA we're seeing this week and the NHL playing their championships, so much of it's gambling related, and so much when I see Ted Leones is talking about arena football is video and video on your phone to think that these are going to be the ways to grow the game. And yet, I'm 40 years into this, and I found some old footage of Kenny Cooper calling in here 20 years ago as I was going through my archives. And, your sport and your league and everything, even going back to Kenny Cooper, Ed Hale, everyone, was about involving the community and involving the kids and doing summer camps and making it a true local community experience that involves, let's be honest, when the minute the Blast ball was exploding down there on the field at the then Baltimore Civic Center 40 years ago, it always involved kids. It always involved kids playing the game and being a part of it. That's the one thing I always hear about your league that I don't hear about the NBA saying we need kids to play, or hockey saying we want kids on the ice, or I don't hear that at other levels, but with soccer it always begins with that. And I know if your involvement with Celtic, it probably leads right into that, but part of the local soccer thing is the community far more than what the Orioles have done, or even what the Ravens would say we want little kids playing football. I don't know that that's the message of other sports. That's always been the soccer message, though.
Yeah, I think maybe one difference is the fact that, for our sport, indoor soccer, arena soccer, whatever name you prefer, it's soccer on like an adrenaline rush. It's super fast-paced. If you go to an outdoor game and think it's kind of boring because the score is 1-0, Americans are used to, basketball games 109 to 107. Football games could be 47 to 42, whatever. But when you look at soccer, a 1-0 game means it was a really good game in most cases. So you have to, our game, there's people who, like I said, think they don't like soccer and they come and they're addicted. It's a lot of fun. The one thing I've noticed too, and in our market, Harrisburg is a little bit different. We don't have any major pro teams. It's Pittsburgh and Philly have the pro teams up there, but we do have the Hershey Bears, which are the record holder for continuous sellouts for a minor league team. Then you have minor league baseball up there. But the one difference for us up there is that our guys are year-round. Like, they live in the area. A few of them will go back home, like Nelson went back to California. Dylan went back to St. Louis, but is coming back this summer. But most of our guys are still year-round. They're coaching the community. They're out in the community. And I think that's one of the things that, organically, you're out there meeting parents, talking to people, helping the sponsors, whether it's a restaurant or whatever else.
But that was part of the business model from the very beginning, right? I mean, when the forefathers of your league set this up in 1979 and 80, a million years ago, to do indoor soccer, that was part of the model. Summer camps was built into this. Is how we're going to be a year-round business and not just a soccer team selling 20 soccer games, right? Or whatever it would be, right?
Yeah, it has to be. I mean, it's hard for most teams to survive just on a season-only type of revenue model. You have players only paid during the season, but aside from that, there's still other expenses, and the league's always hitting us with fees and everything else. I mean, there's a lot of things, but the camps are one thing. Kevin and Pat are doing a great job growing. We never really had it up there, at least not recently before me or during us. I'm seeing some great growth in that market, and it's interesting. I mean, you get the kids who play soccer who like to come, and then you get the kids who've never played soccer before. And it's interesting because, like, the rec kids, they love it. They to them, it's like, they're walking into, World Cup. The kids who are playing travel and club, to them, it's like still exciting, but, they're playing at high level. So they probably look at it as like, oh, this is kind of cool, whatever. But I've yet to meet anyone who's walked away from our game and said, wow, that was horrible. I'm never coming back. What I find is that people are like, how did that know about this? Do you have mini ticket plans? Do you have this? Do you have that? So it's just getting the awareness out there. And to your point earlier, I mean, we have the YouTube channel, which does really well for us. I mean, there's some complaints that some fans are now not coming to games because they can just watch the game at home, which, yeah, I've seen a couple comments on Facebook where people are commenting, and they're like, pretty big fans of the team. Like, well, like there's a buffer feed of like, why are you home? Why aren't you at the game? But, it is what it is.
Carl Delmont is here, Freemont Mortgage, as well as the Harrisburg Heat. Let's get on to the mortgage side here, and we talked so much about the soccer and Celtic. We'll get back on that, but rates dropping, right? This is a big, first thing you say is, I'm going to sell my house, I'm going to get a mortgage, what's my rate going to be, right? That would be where we are, and everything's calculated on a monthly basis for all that. Where is the market right now as we enter summer? And it's a little quiet. People take weeks off at a time, going down to the beach, hard to get business phone calls back and all that. But the rates right now getting a little lower and certainly making it more attractive, right?
Yeah, I mean, we've said this a million times on your show. There's the axiom that if it's bad economic news, it's good for mortgage rates. If it's good economic news, it's usually not good for mortgage rates. And while the Consumer Confidence Index and some other things show that things look good, there's some other things out there, whether it's, the tariffs, whether it's China or Mexico or seriously downward revisions of GDP forecasts. Now you're hearing some Fed governors who are saying that maybe the Fed needs to start looking at maybe cutting rates. There's just a lot of things that are blending in. And bottom line is, all that stuff is, of course, potential conflict in China and Middle East. But, with all those things, you're looking at mortgage rates now are actually improving nicely. So what we're seeing is that a bit of a resurge in the refinance market. People have a combination of lower rates and higher equity. And unfortunately, some people still have a lot of credit card debt from the financial crisis from, 10 years ago. So, it might be a way to consolidate bills. A lot of people think, well, I don't really want to sell my house. I want to remodel it. So they're doing remodeling loans. They refinance and include all the renovations in the new mortgage. And so there's a lot of options out there. But on the purchase side, we're seeing still good demand. The market's starting to shift a little bit where it was for a long time more of a seller's market where the seller could ask a crazy price and they'd have probably 50 people bidding on it. Now it's starting to normalize a little bit. You're still seeing multiple bids, and in some cases people bidding a little bit over the asking price depending on how the house sells and what it's priced at and how it shows, et cetera. But it's starting to normalize a little bit where it's not really a buyer's market, it's not really a seller's market, but I think we're getting closer to a normalization of the market, which is probably a healthy thing.
He is Carl Delmont. He is at Freemont Mortgage. You can find them out on the web. And I noticed a couple weeks ago, you guys are always moving things around on the website, creating new things and educational value. I mean, it really it does speak, not just to call you, but just go to the website. You could literally spend hours there clicking around learning about this if you haven't done it. And then there's the first-time buyer thing, right? Like, that's still out there. And I know you always bring that up. I'm a little old for that, but there are plenty of people out there that when they first-time buyers are a real thing, right? I mean, that's a real American incentive, is it not?
Yeah, I mean, I always make the metaphor that if the first-time buyers grew up in the housing crisis, so they probably heard their parents, "I can't believe we bought this house. We're underwater. My neighbors are short selling. My cousins for being foreclosed upon." I mean, all they heard about was negative connotation with homeownership. But when they interview millennials, all the polls show that millennials still feel that they want to be homeowners. Some of the hurdles: student loan debt, maybe not enough income, credit scores, etc. But for those of them that think they want to do it, I mean, it's good that there's a positive outlook in that segment. But the other thing is at the opposite end of the spectrum is you have a lot of baby boomers who are retiring, and in the past they would downsize. Some of them are not downsizing. What they're saying is, nah, you know what, we'll just renovate the house, and when the grandkids come over, we'll have rooms for them, etc. So what's happening is it's causing a little bit of a logjam at one end. So if the first-time buyer wants to buy the former first-time buyer's house, where's the former first-time buyer go? Because the senior's not selling his house. So that's why you're seeing an increase in new home sales with builders and everything else. But existing home sales, depending on the market, things are still pretty good. What I would tell first-time buyers is make sure you follow the right order, and the order is this. Make sure that you're emotionally ready, then make sure you're financially ready. Sit down and look at what you're paying in rent, what you're paying in utilities, and all your other expenses. And then in that budget, put down how much money you would like to have for spending money. Because if you buy a house and you only have, $100 left a month, it's going to be kind of hard to go to the movies and, buy food, go to restaurants, whatever else. So make sure that you put on paper what you can really live on and make sense. Then when that's all said and done, then go find a good lender, and that's going to help you, and let them help you understand all the options, work on your budget, work on the programs. Then you can find a good realtor, and then you go out and look at a house. Too often they get romanticized about the idea, and they find a house, then they find a realtor, then they find a lender, and then they find out that maybe their credit score is not where it needs to be, or they end up maybe buying a house and biting off a little bit more than they could chew. So it's best to take the emotion out of it, sit down, have a good talk if you're buying a house with a significant other or if it's by yourself, and just make sure you understand all the things that go along with it. And if you have a solid pre-approval from a local trusted lender, I'm telling you, that's going to help you. We have so many stories of our clients who are the winning buyers of a multiple offer situation, and they weren't even the highest offer. It was just that the seller and the seller's agent's like, look, this other person's offering a little bit more money, but they're using an out-of-state lender or internet bank or someone. I don't trust them. Let's go with this one. I know these guys. They'll get it closed.
Well,
That's important too.
It's nice to say we have 2 or 3 people that want our place. Let's get to the finish line, right? If none of them can get us to the finish line, we're not doing ourselves any good. Carl Delmont is here. Fremont Mortgage Group's available at Freedmont.com. That's 2 E's, FREEDOMNT. Purchase a home, refinance a home, loan options, calculators, and resources. That's important. And educating homeowners. It's all there. It's one click away. And, of course, you can always call them 800-955-8508. And it's always soccer season in the Delmont family. Carl Delmont here, trying to get kids out of school and on to summertime here. Carl, give everybody the fine print on Freedmont so everybody can get in touch. And if you got anything else to give me on the soccer side, let me know.
Yeah, so fine print, NMLS number 2893, equal housing lender, Fremont.com. For soccer, congrats to all the teams winning State Cup and the ones moving on to regionals and nationals. We got some Celtic teams moving on to regionals and nationals, so proud of them. There are a few teams still looking to add a few players, so if you're still looking for an opportunity, you can always go to BaltimoreCeltic.com and check that out. And, of course, we'd be remiss if we didn't say, hey, guess what? World Cup for the women is starting real soon, so looking forward to that as well.
Did you get a chance to watch any of the soccer last week? The whole Liverpool thing was all over my timeline. Did you get a little bit of that?
We had some games, but I did watch a little bit of it, mostly after the fact. But, yeah, it was pretty crazy that so-called handball in the first, 22 seconds, and Salah buried it.
Yeah, I mean, it was legendary. At 3 o'clock in the afternoon, my timeline just disappeared. It was all given over to red.
Yep.
Hey, man. Carl Delmont joining us here, talking soccer, talking Fremont Mortgage, and, of course, Harrisburg Heat and MASL meetings this week to get their league together as well. I'm getting myself together. It's summertime around here. Baltimore Positive is rocking. We've signed Fadley's. We're going to be doing some Baltimore Positive at Fadley's later this month. Mayor Jack Young's going to be joining us later this month. Don Moeller up there. You can learn more about all we're doing at Baltimore Positive, and you can always toss me an email, nasty@WNST.net. We are WNST.net, AM 1570 in WNST Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports.